Hey, what's going on, guys? As always, hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's enjoying their day. I know it's been a minute since I've been on here. Of course, we all dealing with life events. So I just want to take some time to jump back on the channel. For all those who's been subscribing, those who's been sharing, those who's been looking at the content, as always, say thank you for taking the time to support Rebuilding Community Trust, support the content on here and getting out to people, those who may want to hear it or take tune to it. For those who are new, that have subscribed to this channel, welcome to RBC, or Rebuilding Community Trust, where this YouTube channel has been made for community issues and dealing with what's going on in our communities. I hope that you're taking the time to enjoy the content so far. I know I haven't been consistent. Again, life events and dealing with different transitions in my life right now. But I do want to take some time to come on here and drop some type of content, hopefully stimulate thought and to get people into thinking about what we need to do to better our communities around us and be aware and empower ourselves to make change. I'm going to talk a little freely today. I took some time to think about what I was going to talk about. As you know, media, the social media, our news feeds has been putting out so much different things. I mean, we know the Texas school shootings. We were dealing with the possible passing of gun legislation change. Obviously, waiting on the Roe versus Wade overturnment, possibly. Supreme Court justices being targeted. Some judges getting assassinated. Which is so much stuff going on right here. So much stuff I want to talk about, but I'm just going to kind of talk freely from my heart. Hope that people will just, stimulate thought and start looking into these things. And if you have not already, and that just start seeing how we can make a difference in our own communities in our own way. First things first, I want to say, with everything going on, I hope people are really finding ways to deal with everything that's around us. We can talk about inflation. We can talk about some stuff dealing with the guns and the use of weapons, who should obtain weapons, protecting our rights when it comes to Second Amendment, understanding that there has to be some type of curvature. What I mean by that is have be some type of standard and not, again, taking our rights away, but to be able to know who should have weapons and who shouldn't. The school shootings really touched me, and this is another point. I know we all got kids, right? We see the experiences. We saw the testimonies on the Capitol Hill in regards to what happened in Texas. Testimonials of certain students that were there. Right. And it's a point in our society where kids are being subjected of violence in our educational systems, in our places of worship, even in our homes. And we really got to think about that. We got our kids and, they're inundated with so much in regards to culture and the media and ideas and thoughts, mental health. We need to really, be mindful talking to our kids. Talking to your kids about active shooters. Talking to your kids about the purpose of a weapon. Talking to your kids about how to do conflict resolution. Knowing how to deal with emotions. Know how to deal with the mental health. Because that's one of the things that's where it starts at home. Some of these shooters, had issues mentally. Right? They had issues dealing with their social interactions, being in school, being bullied, cyberbullied, right? Know how to deal with conflict in a better way. Knowing how to walk away from certain situations, knowing how to process emotions correctly, knowing how to deal with disappointments or dealing with the word no or dealing with acceptance, validation, right? These are some of the things that plays a part in conflict resolution. It's a lady that I've listened to. Her name is Dorsey. I was intently going to post a video of just with her speaking, but I'm not going to, go through all those channels today. I'm just going to mention her name. You can go Google her or look her up on YouTube. It's called Dorsey. It's a lot of stuff she says. in relation to relationships, getting away from the victim mentality, understanding how to process emotions correctly, dealing with single parent homes, dealing with marriages, dealing with co-parenting. And I just wanted to kind of just get people to understand the relationship, the foundation of the home is where a lot of these problems start. And this is where a lot of these problems lead into. And one of the things she mentioned about co-parenting, when you have the children's mothers, when we get into relationships, whether it's man or woman, and we're not doing the due diligence to understand why we're getting to relationships, why are we being with this particular purpose? Is the relationship purposeful? And then we have children. And then when the relationship ends, right, then we have a situation where we have children in the mix, and then we have emotions and feelings get involved. And then that, for example, the mom doesn't want the children to be with the dad, or, the dad doesn't want to be a part of the child's life. And then you have all these different things, far as not being raised properly, having issues with relationships that's generational. It passed down from generation to generation. It's interesting news feed I read in the news where a 10-year-old took a gun from a mom's backpack and shot another woman in the head. And it was because obviously the mom got into an altercation with another woman during an event that they had. And I guess the daughter took out the gun and used it to shoot back at the other person in protection of her mama. And she yelled out, "You shouldn't mess with my mother." So those examples of things I read that shows how important it is to establish the foundational truths and being a presence in your child's life. Talking to my children, sitting them down, understanding what is going on in today's society. It's important. Give them awareness as they're in schools. I know schools winding up for most that are still in school, or some that's either out or going to be out, depending on where you're at in the country. And obviously I'm talking about forward, when we go into next school year, but really thinking about how to how to teach your kids how to know what to look for, the signs, knowing how to spot someone that's maybe having issues at home. Talk to your kids about knowing where your exits are. Talking to your kids about knowing how to see, how to barricade yourself. How does, when someone's shooting, how does bullets ricochet off the ground, knowing the different active shooter aspects. Training your kids, talking to them. It's not the gun that the person has that does the killing. It's the person with the gun. Weapons in itself is not bad unless used correctly. Knowing how to use it. Making sure have safety protocols in place. Make sure you're mentally healthy to use a weapon in need. Depending on if it's recreational for hunting purposes, or using it for if you're in law enforcement, or you're military, or you just like to use weapons or like to keep them, you need to have the responsibility to protect your weapons and put them away. Even when you come purchasing weapons, you have to be mindful of the mental state of that person you're purchasing the weapons for, if you're purchasing for someone else or if they're purchasing it for themselves. So these are things I think with gun legislation has to be looked at. Understanding the mindset of people who are able to purchase weapons with the intent to kill or harm others. But back to the foundational aspect of it, when speaking about this Love Dorsey lady, she's really talking about, her delivery may not be good. She curses a lot, but, getting past all of that, the delivery. But a lot of stuff she's saying is so crucial to building understanding, for one, having knowledge of what's going on in homes, and especially in the Black community, but also understanding how to deal with relationships, and especially when dealing with parenting. So I highly suggest people go look her up, get a couple of videos and listen to them. Again, it's a lot of foul language, but getting past that, she has a message. And I learned a lot from her, listen to some of her videos. Being mindful, when we move on to the next point, what's going on in your media. Being mindful of what you're listening to. What are you getting your news sources from? It's easy today to fall into the trap of just listening to anyone and getting hung up on one thing. whether it's a political news site or whether it's social media, whether it's relationships, whether it's music or culture, media in the whole general sense. Be mindful what you put into your mindset. We can't afford, and it's not even about race anymore. It's about everyone. It's about our children. It's about our the very things we hold near and dear. You know, we're talking about our elderly. We're talking about our children. We're talking about our women. Right? You know what I'm saying? That carry our children. And even when it comes to that, I'm going to do a whole nother separate video about it, talking about what's attractive as a woman. But more importantly, to be honest, we have to value the men. The men has to be valued the most. And I'm not saying it from a misogynist standpoint. I'm saying it from a leadership, a valuable standpoint. Thinking about how men are treated, thinking about how men are looked at in today's society. Emasculation, we have this red pill content, we have masculine energy, we have all these different terms floating around. And when I'm talking about the men, I'm talking about in a sense of our homes. I'm talking about in a sense of our children's lives. I'm talking about in a sense of leading. If a man is mentally and emotionally and financially and even physically straight, then a lot of these problems could be eliminated. If men were more present in their children's lives, I'm even talking to myself, right? Then we can able to make the change we need in regards to dealing with how our children turn out for the most part. When we're dealing with loss of life in the sense of children, it really does something to me. Not because I have kids of my own, but see, this channel is getting much bigger than African Americans, or much bigger than just Black Lives Matter. It's much bigger than, and I'm not taking away from that, but I think it's starting to move to a trend where we have to come together as people. All right. I know some people may not agree or disagree with that, but when a child is killed in school, it's a child. It doesn't matter what color it is. It doesn't matter if they're Hispanic. It doesn't matter if they're Black. It doesn't matter if they're white. It doesn't matter if they're Asian. A child is a child. 10 years old, 9 years old, 8 years old. It doesn't matter the race. So when that Texas school shooting happened, I didn't look at race. I looked at as a child. I could look at it as my child. I can look at it as someone else's child that's in that school, trying to learn, get the education. And therefore their lives are taken in the process of growing. The school should be probably one of the most safest places next to a church, to where a kid can be safe. And we know we have all the challenges with the educational school system. We know that we have all types of different scenarios inside the school itself. But then when you have your kids can't go to school today and learn and get an education so they can grow into, it's not high school. This is elementary school, right? This is kids. These are kids from, from 11 on down. This is not high school. This isn't college. It shouldn't matter even with that. But this is, when you think of elementary school, you're thinking 12, 11-year-old children and below. And now, you know what I'm saying, they're not safe. I don't know if you saw the news with Alabama. Somebody tried to go into school, earlier this week. And swift action was taken. Right? We need to do something about not only just gun legislation in the aspect of who should own guns, but also understanding, tighten up on our school resource officers, our protection in schools, security cameras or technology, or even just having more bodies and presence. It might even take some of the men or even some of those community leaders to have men do some type of volunteer program where the men's up there taking, if you ain't working, you have a day off or something, volunteer up there at the school and be a lookout for people like that. It takes a community to get involved now with the school system. It does. You know what I'm saying? I saw one post where a father, he went up there and stood at the school and stood to watch, look out over the school, and made sure that someone tried to pull up and do something to him. He was there to able to take notice or even try to stop the guy. It may just take some community involvement. So as we continue to monitor situations, when we got legislation coming down the pipeline, we got inflation, we have all this stuff about January 6th, we have all these different events worldwide, Russia, Ukraine, we have all these different aspects that's going to affect our communities, especially when the passing of these legislation bills. We're going to have to be more united than ever. Even with the Black community, we have our own standard of problems. We have problems that are unique to us. But we have to, in a sense, move towards dealing with our own problems, but also dealing with the world's problems. And I asked the question, where was Black Lives Matter during these times of all these? They're there for George Floyd. And again, I see it. But when we have issues in our communities that are not noticed or not reported, where is BLM? Where is these same people that were supposed to have been there? The Buffalo shooting that happened like three weeks ago, not even 3 weeks ago. What happened to Black Lives Matter? What happened to attorneys and supporters and all that then? That's why the problem is it runs so deep. Where is it when we're losing prominent figures of our communities? Where was Black Lives Matter for that? It has to be bigger than just a movement. It has to be bigger than just a protest. We have to really start standing up for our communities on our own, getting involved. Even myself, more so me getting involved in my school and where my kids going, talking to my kids. It don't have to be, it may not always be easy to get involved in that, but it can start with home. You can start with talking to your kids and educating them. It can start with teaching them how to protect themselves, teaching them how to survive in this type of world we're living in. Teaching them about conflict resolution, teaching them how to deal with emotions, teaching them about how to understand the validation aspect of who they are through their parents, teaching them, telling your daughters they're beautiful so they won't go out here and participate in hot girl summer. Teaching your young boys that everything has to be resolved through your fists and through a gun. It's okay to walk away. It's okay to look at yourself in a positive way to say and deduce whether it's good to get into it with this person or not. It starts at home. It starts at home. So I just want to take some time to highlight certain things. I hope that people are paying attention to what's going on. I hope everyone's well. I hope that everyone is really trying to be okay out here. It's tough times, inflation, food, gas, jobs. Those who are dealing with the Texas shooting situation, continuous prayers. It's going to be a while for that town recovers, that school recovers, those people affected is going to recover. I mean, there's no time limit on it. And yes, more prayer, more than prayers are needed. But one of the ways of getting is helping those situations and getting involved and being active. Pray and do at the same time. School board meetings, dealing with Congress, dealing with your state representatives. And sometimes that's not even enough. Getting involved and finding a way to be a part of it. I will start some type of watch, so all the neighbors and come up to the school and stand there and watch and stand with and volunteer. They should have some type of volunteer service for parents to come up. They don't always, it can be the men or the women, being watchful around our schools. They should somehow come up with that. They should allow that at some point where parents, just like they have PTA meetings or PTA support systems where they do fundraising and stuff like that, they should have a volunteer service for parents can come up there and be a lookout for our kids. Even if someone goes around the school and make sure the doors are closed and locked, make sure those exits are locked, make sure those doors are locked, not just closed, but locked. Verifying, double checking all the exits of the school, the entrances and the exits. Having someone look out and make sure that, unauthorized people don't get into those schools. If it takes a community or volunteer service to do that, then these are things that we're going to have to do. The community's going to have to start being more forceful, being more involved, getting into those programs, tapping into the state government programs that they have to make the schools better. The staff of those schools, those who are in charge, advocating for better security. It should not be our kids should be getting killed in the classroom. It should not be somebody walking into our schools and killing our children. Children will be scarred for life because of this situation. Starts at home, and it starts with active community members. It starts with parents. It starts with education. It starts with sitting your kids down and talking to them about this stuff. Getting involved. So my prayer is that people are finding ways to get involved. My prayer is that people are being okay. Mental health is such a big thing. Getting therapy. Realizing as a person, as a man or a woman, young or old, to say, you know what, I need help. I need to get involved and go get therapy. I need to sit back and look at my childhood. I need to do the work that's needed to be a better version of myself. And it sounds cliche, but this is what why we're having so many problems in our communities. It's one thing to know the law. It's one thing to know what we can and cannot do, but it's another to apply it, and it's another to where we look at ourselves and be able to do the work that needs to be done. But all is going on, when these results come out, however it may go with the Supreme Court justice after they recover from being targeted, however it goes with these laws, I hope people really sit back and look at what America really stands for. And again, I'm not into patriotism, like that, but I'm talking about a sense of our communities where our kids can have a place to live, where kids can thrive and be the best version to replace the previous generation of previous generation of people that's alive. Creating the opportunity for our generations to thrive in the next few years. That's what I'm more focused on. Honestly, leaving up to the government to do it by themselves, we got to do it for ourselves. We got to do it. We got to think about our kids as an everyday working man, everyday average working woman, working man, however we want to look at it. It's for us to step up and be able to take charge of our communities and our families, and in the most nonviolent, productive way. Even if we're advocating for our amendments and for our communities, we got to do it in a nonviolent, productive way. We can't do it in a violent way. We can't go out here and shoot our way to productivity. Pointing a gun at trying to take out a Supreme Court justice, or try to take out a government official, or try to take out someone in charge is not going to change it either. We have to possibly find ways to do things in a nonviolent and productive manner. Now, some things may require what they require, but I'm not advocating for that way because it's going to cause more damage. Numbers, staying focused, and being active. And I ain't even talking about protesting. That's part of it, but actually being active. And if it requires, hey, I want to be a part of the volunteer force of my school. I want this done. If I'm at that school board meeting, and I want, if either you're going to get more police officers, or I'm going to come up there on my own time. And however process needs to go. But I want to be a part of volunteering to make sure my kids' schools are safe. If you won't give me the officers, and you won't put the bodies there to keep down the violence, and I gotta, and no one's not going to make sure that these doors are locked and these exits are covered, then I will do it. It may just come down to that. So that's all I have. I just pray that, again, everybody's well. If you have requests of things you want me to talk about, I would gladly talk with them about it. I was trying to think of something, but with everything that's been going on, with all that's going on in the world, on an economic basis, on a criminal justice basis, on a, dealing with our education, dealing with our daily lives, I feel like it's just good to hopefully encourage and to empower people to really not only educate yourselves, but to get involved. You know, it's like at this time, it seems pointless to talk about certain things because I think people are dealing with so much life and events that, you know what I'm saying? I think it's best to just get on here, encourage, and to share my sentiment and also my everyday living. I'm just in this situation as y'all. I'm dealing with life just as y'all guys are. I'm out here, you know, dealing with the very same things. You know, make sure my kids are fine and make sure that, you know what I'm saying, they're knowing and they're empowering and even find a way to somehow get involved into the community in some form while I'm dealing with my lifestyles and things I've got going on. But I just hope this encourages people. Please stay safe, comment, you know, share your thoughts, ideas, you know, and continue to encourage one another. If you see someone down, see someone having a hard time, it ain't gonna take a little bit of encouragement to bring them back up. In this point in time, we got to be able to look out for others and continue to stay active. So that's all I got. If you want anything to talk about, leave it in the comments. I hope this finds everyone well, and we'll see you on the next one.